Hello, gorgeous souls, and welcome to this talk on the Taurus full moon happening on November the 5th. We're also taking a look at the cosmic themes emerging throughout November, which is incredible astrology here. Like these energies can help us cleanse and heal karmic patterns and cycles we've been lugging around possibly for lifetimes. It is incredible for intentional manifestation and creation, where we can really see the things we desire being accelerated, like the speed at which they're manifesting. So, of course, we're going to take a look at all of that today, the cosmic placements that are supporting us with this. And some of the ways the shadow could show up in our personal life or in our relationships or even for the planet. But of course, we're always moving toward the highest octave expression, because the more that we embody that and live that in our life, that influences the planet as well. We only need like the majority, just like the majority of people, to be in this energy of higher consciousness to really see a shift. And there are already so many souls that are embodying this fifth dimensional consciousness and higher, even higher, and really bringing that to the planet right now. So, what a time! What a time! Let's dive right in here. I'm going to share my screen and pull up the chart for us to take a closer look here. So, full moon in Taurus, 13 degrees. Understanding this Taurus archetype is the first step. And the moon is exalted in Taurus. Anytime a planet, or in this case, a luminary, is in its exaltation, it's extra potent. It takes on a lot of power. And if we look at the nature of the moon, it's emotional, it's connected to our emotions, it's ever changing. It changes signs every 2 to 3 days. It's on the move. We have a new and full moon every month. And Taurus is one of the most grounded, earthy signs of the zodiac. So when these energies come together, we feel this sense of presence in our body. And Taurus, being the second sign of the zodiac, is about the foundation that we build for everything else we will create and experience, our relationship with others, the work that we do in the world. It is all about this foundation, and a foundation that is rooted in connection with Mother Gaia, uh, knowingness of what we value, having clarity on our core values, and living in a way that honors those values. Sometimes we can say, we value certain things. And if we look at our life, we're like, okay, there's a little bit of a disconnection here. Maybe I don't value what I think I did. Sometimes it's a lot of honesty we need, that what we're saying and our behavior or actions are at odds, and we get to clean that up. Other times we may be living a life where we feel we're just not aligned with what we really do actually value. We got caught up in the noise of what other people are doing or their projections, and we get to come back home to what is it I really value, and can I build a life around that? So you can see where this is foundational energy. Foundation doesn't mean overly simplistic, though. We want to be able to master the foundations in anything in our life, whether that's in our relationship, in our business. It's often just coming back to the foundation. And if we're having issues in an area, we're usually not having a solid foundation to hold us that can continue to support our evolution and growth. So I love that this full moon is bringing us back to that, and the importance of really establishing solid foundations for everything that we create in our life. Taurus is also about our body, a connection to our body and a connection to the senses. And this is why it is a very sensual sign. It's about being here in the physical and falling in love with the beauty of that. Our connection to nature, plants and animals, how we're nurturing the planet and working at a pace that honors our body. Taurus the bull, not in a rush, but slow and steady and persistent in the highest expression. The Taurian energy persists toward what it desires, and it's resilient. Two very important keys to success is persistence and resiliency. We could give up before the miracle, right? We could give up too early. And Taurus reminds us to like hold the course and to not be in a rush. And that goes back to sustainable success in our life requires working at a pace that is sustainable, that honors your body in the current season that it's in, and even getting to know what your body needs to feel nourished, to feel supported, to feel at its best. Now, opposite the full moon, we have the sun in Scorpio, 13 degrees. We have a lot of water energy right now. Water energy is actually a core theme that we're going to see throughout November, meaning all the things associated with the water element are really in the spotlight as well. But let's take a moment to look at this fixed water sign, Scorpio, which brings us into depth. Fixed water. We're going deep. We're going into the shadow. We're going beyond the facade, the outer image, the superficial. Scorpio loves to dive deep. People who have a lot of energy in this chart crave deep conversations, depth of connection, even a deep understanding of things. Like they're asking questions, they're wanting to know more. It's very much the detective energy. So if we look at the full moon here, these energies opposite are compatible, earth and water. With Taurus, we see the physical and the foundation. With Scorpio, we see more of our emotions, our emotional world, and how we're caring for ourselves emotionally. And it can bring a lot to the surface. So we have an awareness. When we become conscious, we can make a new choice. When we're operating on autopilot, that's where we can feel like our life is out of control, or we're not sure why we're getting the results we are. We're kind of lacking a level of self-awareness. But the Scorpio energy helps us really cultivate a deeper self-awareness of the core patterns, the core habits that are dictating the behaviors and the actions that we take in our life, and really examining that. And combined with the other energies we're seeing throughout November, really ask ourselves, is this old pattern serving me? Or have I just been holding on to this because it's what I've seen the people around me do? It's what has been done in my family or my community. And there's this energy of really beginning to challenge those old patterns within ourselves. First, we have an awareness, and then we can get curious about, where did this even come from? Is this serving me? Is this useful? And move forward with a higher level of consciousness, which is the bigger theme that's really unfolding here. And throughout this month of November, and the Mercury retrograde is going to be a part of this as well. Mercury is going to move back into Scorpio and be a part of keeping this grand water trine active. So we have the sun, Jupiter here in Cancer, 25 degrees, and Saturn in Pisces, 25 degrees. So this energy here of this grand water trine is about healing. It's about learning to go with the flow in a new way instead of bucking the current, like making things harder than they need to be. An element of surrender. And when we surrender, we experience peace. Peace comes when we are able to surrender in any aspect of our life. We're not fighting against something anymore. We're in surrender to it. And from that space, what happens to our ability to create and manifest, it goes way up. Because when we're in surrender, we're operating from this space of trust and curiosity, and we're not in fight or flight mode, survival mode. Instead, we're in thriving mode. We're open. We're open to miracles. We're open to being amazed. We're open to new ideas coming in. We're open to a new way of living when we're in that state of surrender. So it's really bringing that up. And I go into detail with this grand trine, and even talking about Three Eye Atlas. I had lots of people reaching out, wondering about Three Eye Atlas and the astrology behind that, and especially my perspective from the records. So I did a 2-hour activation on this called Timeline Fusion. And I call it an activation because not only did I go into the astrology, but a key right now with these energies is not about more information. It's actually about embodiment work. And that's the water energy as well, and the water trine. Less about being in our mind, more about being in our body. Big message with this full moon as well. And Anyway, I'm going to attach the link to Timeline Fusion below. I decided to keep this open longer if you would like to sign up. Instant access, 2-hour video, higher self embodiment in the work in the records, also work around releasing an old pattern or mental loop that's been active in your life. I guide you through a process to really clear that out because that's a big part of the energies. And you can do these activations anytime. Another question I get is are the Akashic activations still effective beyond the 2025 into 2026? And absolutely they are. They're timeless. Any of the activations I do, even if inspired by current cosmic forecasts and weather, the activations are timeless. They're created in that way. And each time you go into the Akashic Records, it meets you with your current state of consciousness. So it's always a new experience. So there's something, the activations and clearings, the way they're structured, will grow with you as you grow and evolve. They'll support that evolution, and your spirit team, your higher self, the information that's held in the Akashic field will continue to meet you where you are on your journey today. And that's where every activation can be different. I've had clients with me for years that say the experience is completely different every time. Even if they go back and revisit old activations, it's different. I'm like, yes, it's structured intentionally in that way. Timeline Fusion below if you are curious about exploring that further. So this grand water trine here in more of the shadow expression of this energy could be feelings of overwhelm and just these emotions coming up. We're not knowing how to fully process the emotions or allowing them to take over our life, right? And when emotions run the show in our life, we know that's not a good space to be because they can be coming from a space of fear or unhealed trauma or just unprocessed emotions. And I'm sure we've all seen the effect that can have on the relationships in our life. So being able to heal and process that and work with this energy is key. It's easier for some than others simply because of our birth chart. Like if you have a lot of planets in water in your chart, this is not new for you. This has been since your birth. You've learned how to work with your emotions in a way that supports you ideally, or this is like a big lesson you're learning. But for all of us right now, we get to experience this lesson. And that's the beauty of the transits in astrology is we actually get to have a glimpse of what some people are experiencing all of the time. So right now we're jumping into the experience of somebody who has that signature and essence of a lot of water energy within their chart and what that looks like, both the lower and higher octave. Now, the ruler of this full moon is Venus, which is currently moving through Libra. So Venus rules over both Libra and Taurus. So it's at home in the sign of Libra right now. Venus is another huge theme, the Venusian energy, since it is the ruler of the full moon and also in its home placement, it is very powerful. A lot of planets here are just in a position where their exaltation or their home placement, Jupiter and its exaltation. So there's a lot of potent energy here for how we shape and create with it with intention. So Venus is the goddess of love, beauty, and prosperity. We really see that energy coming out in the Taurian energy when it comes to the connection with sensuality and our body and beautiful things and just really exploring life from this space of let me enjoy it. Life is meant to be enjoyed. Taurus reminds us of that. Now, where it's in the sign of Libra, Libra has a slightly different expression of this Venusian energy. It's still very much about beauty and peace and harmony, but it also brings in the relationship component. So relationships, huge theme right now. And they have been for the last few months. You may have noticed a lot of things coming up in relationships. Now with this new context here, this can be dynamics in relationships, patterns in relationships, unhealed wounds that are existing in relationships surfacing rapidly right now, really surfacing at a rapid pace, wanting your awareness and wanting your attention. Now, Venus is forming a square here, pretty close square here, like Jupiter is at 25, Venus is at 28. So it's a point of tension that's happening here. And if we look even further, Jupiter is also squaring Chiron, and Chiron is opposing Venus, which makes it into a T square. So, whereas trines are harmonious flows of energy, T squares are points of tension. And in timeline fusion, when I was talking about the water chimes, the people that were there live, so many of the beautiful souls that join me live are like looking at their charts. Do I have this in my chart? Because it is such a blessing. Here's the thing though, our higher self chooses the perfect birth chart, the perfect energy for us, and knows what we need to fulfill our life path and our soul's mission. And while trines are a beautiful blessing, sometimes they go missed because they're so innate to who we are. It's like we don't even have an awareness of the gifts that we have. Whereas a T square, it won't be missed because it'll cause tension within your life that often leads to action and incredible growth. And it tends to build this resilience in people. When I've seen T squares, they're with people that have often navigated a lot in their life, and there's been a lot of obstacles and challenges, but the ones that really have worked with it, like they have a character that's just so strong and so unstoppable, and like I'll rise to the occasion, give me a challenge, and sometimes a competitive nature because they have built that confidence. So collectively, we have this T square happening right now with Jupiter and Chiron and Venus here. And I think this really is speaking to relationships in many ways and amplifying what needs to be addressed within our relationships. And because of the focus here with Chiron as well, there can be a lot of healing that's happening now if we are willing to look. We always have free will. So if we're willing to look at what is surfacing, the old patterns, looking at what needs to be healed, we can make a lot of progress and we can really evolve. But if we're not willing to do that work because we do have free will, it's we'll continue to see those patterns play out. So this is a portal of opportunity to be brave enough to do that work, to be really brave enough to say yes to what you're wanting as well. I mean, the T square here pointing to Jupiter and Cancer, expansion and growth. If you're willing to look at what's sticky, what's hard, what moves you out of your comfort zone, the promise is going to be incredible growth and expansion. Now, the other thing I want to hone in on a little bit more. So I talked about this, this water trine here. The sun's going to activate it more. Like Mars now moved into Sagittarius, but because it's just at that 0 degree mark is really, still part of this water trine. But as the sun moves closer to that 25 degree mark, it's going to activate it again. As Mercury retrogrades back into Scorpio, it's going to activate it again. So it's very rare that we have a grand trine going on for so long. And it's just because of the movements of these personal planets through Scorpio. So, okay, back here to Saturn. Saturn at this final degrees of Pisces before it prepares next year to move into Aries, new timeline, numerology. It's a 1 year. This very much fits this energy that we're seeing as well as we move through 2025. It's kind of been a dance of closure and completion of old cycles while having a glimpse of the new timeline that we're moving on and kind of going back and forth because of the retrogrades. So Saturn at the final degrees of Pisces here is what's bringing a karmic cleanup for us collectively. And anything Saturn touches is really about maturity. So if you know where this final degrees of Pisces is in your chart, this is likely an area where structure is wanting to be brought to an area that may feel chaotic, where clarity is wanting to come through in an area where there may feel like there's a little bit of confusion. And it also tends to denote an element of work. Like it's not about passivity when it comes to Saturn. It's about being willing to put in the work to create new results. And then Saturn rewards the efforts of the work we've put in. And it's very spiritual where it's in Pisces. And I see this as grounding in a lot of the spiritual wisdom into our daily practices. So it's not about our spirituality being over here. We have like a box for our spirituality, a box for our humanness. No. And I feel like if you're here, you already know this. So this is probably not going to be huge for you if you're finding this video, you know that. But this may be new spiritual practices that you're grounding into your world in new ways. Yeah. Just feeling the energy of this even coming in from the records. I always look at the chart from the point of view of the records as well. And I'm really just hearing this energy being described from that Akashic lens as seeing our life as that moving meditation. Our meditation isn't just the 10 minutes that we're on the mat or however long you meditate if you do, but our meditation is more when we're driving in traffic and maybe we're stuck in traffic. How do we respond? When we're in a difficult conversation with somebody, how do we respond? Like it's those moments that really matter most, right? It's like a walking, living meditation. And that's what I'm meaning as well around bringing our spirituality with us. It's a part of how we move through our business and our relationships and our life. And Saturn is helping us ground that in more tangibly, very much speaking to a collective shift here as well. It's very much. Okay. I'm just going to see if there's other energies here. One other thing, and then we're going to wrap up for today. And just a reminder, you can grab Timeline Fusion below. I'm also going to be preparing something really fun for the 1111 portal. So make sure you're connected on Facebook and Instagram to stay up to date on that. So the Mars Mercury energy here, we've had them kind of traveling closely together, which can be heated conversations, but it can also be like our minds working at a very rapid pace, especially now where it's in Sagittarius. Mercury and Mars in Sagittarius, that's very fiery, very passionate. It's about expanding the lens we're seeing the world through, being willing, and this has been a theme too, even with the Libra energy, being willing to see through a new lens, take on a new perspective with Sagittarius here, broaden our horizons. Broaden our horizons is a good phrase for Sagittarius archetype. Freedom and adventure, exploring those themes. All right, and those are our main energies here. So overall, there's a lot going on around this full moon, and we get to shape how we work with that energy. And again, I would say if we're willing to do the deeper work of creating change, taking new actions, making new decisions, getting getting clear on what our values are, just coming back to, that core message of the Taurian archetype, building a foundation that can support your ongoing growth and evolution, working at a pace that is sustainable and honors your body and enjoying it. Definitely. Taurus reminds us to enjoy. It is ruled by Venus. All right. So much love to you all. I will see you very soon. Bye for now.